Hey guys, it's Vandy Ezzo back on Cardfight Vanguard deck profile. So guys, joined the type on Starter. This time we're covering DZ set 5 for Lascaria, Stoicheia. So, she got a good amount of support with the Valinos. I think we got 2 new Valinos this time, or we got 3 new Valinos, but at least for this deck we have 2 new Valinos that I like to show off because honestly they are very good cards and help up the deck's consistency, and they focus more on the aggro playstyle. I did talk about how Lascaria, the way they were supporting the Valinos, could go between an aggressive style and a defensive style with the set 2 support, and then Bushy just chose to make it aggressive style. So let's get started, shall we? See what we got. First today we have our energy generator. It's our ride deck crest. Auto ride deck, when you drive, put this card into your crest zone. If you want to energy charge 3, then continuously you have turn energy. I'll begin red phase, energy charge 3, and then act once per turn, energy boss 7, draw a card. R1 pretty solid, it's a free 3 energy every single turn. If you want second, you get an extra 3 on top of that, and by energy bossing 7, you could constantly increase your hand. I don't remember if any cards in here actually cost energy. I say it like I haven't used this deck in a while. I've used this deck not last week, like 2 days ago, but I just don't remember if it actually has energy in it or not. But if it doesn't have energy blasters, then you can just constantly use that to draw a card, and if do, well, then you use the energy on those skills. So nice red deck crest to have, red deck card. Then move on to our, actual red deck units. First up, we have Time of Happiness Lascaria, grade 0 boost, 5k shows, 6k base, all opponent has a draw a card, standard starter, nut spots, free draw if you go second. You can make this any starter you want. I'm pretty sure the grade 1 doesn't have this as a specified starter for the skill. If you can't tell, when you do a bunch of deck profiles back to back to back, you kind of forget what is in what and what reason it is there for. But point is, I would run this anyway just because I like to have the generic line of the starters regardless. But again, you choose and use whatever starter you want. Moving on to our triggers, we have our Source Dragon Deity of Blessings plus favor, grade 0 boost, 50k show, 5k power, over trigger, over trigger, aim deck. Renovate as trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one of your units, it cannot hit time in battle, and I'm getting the skills confused. Give one of your units plus 1 million, and then if you reveal it during draft check, activate its additional effect, which you can draw a card, choose one of your units, give it a crit for the turn, all your farm gets 10,000 power, and if you're damaged on the same number of cards your opponents or more, you get to choose a card from your damage zone to heal it. All are pretty solid because whether you draft check or damage check this, you're getting 1 million on someone, and you're getting to draw cards unless your opponent pulls their own over. Someone's either not getting hit or someone is getting hit that turn. And not to mention the fact that if you drive check this, you get a total of 2 draws, one from just the regular drive check and then one from its additional effect. Someone gets a crit, either the thing you're giving the million to or the vanguard because it's probably going through. Your farmer gets 10k, so if your opponent wants to pass the vanguard, you don't even have to give it the million, the farmer will break it through. And then you possibly even get a heal on top of it. Plus of War is my favorite over trigger to pull because it doesn't auto win you the game once you see it. It just makes it a lot harder for your opponent to win. And it's always nice, at least from my perspective, going on an uphill battle. So if my opponent stacks this, I'm not going to be angry at all. I'm going to be really happy, unless it's the situation where it actually screws me because I'm at 5 damage and the over breaks through. Either way, Bless Favor, nice overfit to have. You can run Vulnerable from Work System multi-attack. It's Foria for recycling, or you can run the Dark Over Trigger for healing and calling, but I just should make it a Bless Favor because I really just like seeing buffs work off. Then we have our normal triggers. We run 3 copies of our critical trigger, Best Temptation, grades of boost, 50k show, 5k power, standard crit, no spell. You can really extend a crit you want to make it a Best Temptation because I literally copied this deck from Zorga's deck profile. So whatever triggers were in that one, I kind of just kept the same. So 3 of Temptation. Then we have 4 copies of Spyro Maiden Alana, grades of boost, 50k show, 5k power, or 4k power. Auto rear guard when at the end of she boosted, it's shove her to soul. Choose on units you can take it for the turn. All around pretty solid. It's a free soul charger, and there are times where the deck can get into a soul problem, so being able to increase your soul very easily is nice. And also giving someone 2k, which is not going to do a lot, but if you have 2 of them, it could help you break through magic numbers and win you the game. So 7 crit for pressure. Then we have 4 fronts and frenzied hairs, grades of boost, 50k shield, 4k power, continues guard, so opponent's vanguards grade 3 grade against 5,000 shield, 20k shield. Nice to have. This deck wants to, at least this version of the deck wants to aggro down your opponent as much as possible. And I mean, we have 2 different grade 1 searchers, both at 4 copies, so I feel like we don't need draw triggers. So 4 frenzied hairs for offensive pressure, and then 4 copies of cheery support elf, grades of boost, 50k shield, 5k power, standard heal, and that's about it, just a free heal if you have more damage than your opponent or equal damage to them. You can really run any who you want just to make a cheery support elf because again, I copied this from Zorga, and honestly, I don't know how I got the 2 different triggers because I don't think either of the Zorga decks that I copied this deck profile from specifically had Abyss Temptation and Cheery Support Elf in the same deck, but somehow they got here. So 4 of Cheery Support Elf, nice heal to have. You can even make the counter heals, but I prefer the regular heals with the consistent 50k shield and fluctuating 10.5k shield, but you do you. Moving on to our next grade 1, 3 copies of Valino Familiaria Fatri. So this is one of our new grade 1s for Valinos. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Auto and discard from the hand during your turn if you have a Vanguard Lascaria in the card. And soul boss 1 call start card to rear guard circle. This is where your soul problem comes from, because this card can just be discarded by any means and superior call it. Specifically Ride deck. The reason why I bring this up is because the entire ride line has Lascaria in its card name, meaning you just ditch this, Soul Blast the one you just rode from, and then call this card to rear guard, and you either have an 8k boost or an 8k swinger that you can use on your opponent that is a Valino, which helps set up the rest of your board. All around, this is a very solid grade 1 support card because, again, it just helps you set up your board quickly as the game goes on, and granted, once you get to grade 3, it's kind of a vanilla, but until then, easy rush card and technically free ride deck, so 3 of Flatari. Fletchery, however you pronounce that. Then we have 4 copies of Velino from Megala Euphoria, so she is one of my favorite grade 1s for Velinos. I've always made that clear. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Auto place on rearguard circle. If your vanguard's Lascaria, again, literally doesn't matter the grade, so you can use it on grade 1, grade 2, or grade 3. You can CB1, check the top 5 cards of your deck, so to 1 card with Velino in this card from among them, or a blitz order from among them, reveal, put your hand shuffle for your deck. So, cool. Velinos do have their own blitz order that works really well with them defensively, so you can add that blitz order to your hand with her effect, or you can add more Velinos so you could, get more Velinos on board to proc the rest of their effects, and then continues rear guard during turn if you have Vanguard, Lascaria in the card name, give it plus 2,000 power. Okay, cool. 10k booster all around. Technically, it should be a 15k booster, because once you get to the grade 3 version of Lascaria, she'll give the 5k to all Velinos, but again, being a 10k regardless of which one you're on is great, and again, being able to check top 5 again regardless of which one you're on is great for only a simple CB, and it can, worst case scenario, hit you your blitz order, which is very defensive, or preferably get you one of your Velinos to hand so you can continue to rush down your board. All around makes for a very solid grade 1. I do like having her in this deck. Her butterfly wings make me like her even more, so easy 4 of. For the record, I'm just a sucker for butterfly wings for some reason, so I'll just always go for cards like that. And move on to 4 copies of Velino Soldato. I'm going to start with his name. Lefonohala. That's as far as we're going to get. I'm going to call you Left from the rest of this time on. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto and placed on rear guard circle. If you have a Vanguard Lascaria in the card name, CB1, check the top 7, show up to 1 card of Velino in this card name from among them, or up to 1 order card that Regalia's piece from among them, reveal, put your hand, shuffle your deck. Okay, almost the exact same skill verbatim from Fiore. The only difference is you check 2 more cards instead of just the top 5. On top of that, it's any order, so if you do run like the normal order, say for example, Spiritual Body Condensation, you can add that to hand as long as it's not a Regalia's piece, you're good to go. It could still add a blitz order. It's just any order now, not specifically blitz. And then the other skill is continuous rear guard. During turn, if you have 3 or more Velinos, she gets 5,000 power, including herself. So once you get to grade 3, automatically you just need 1 more unit on board that has a Velino in the card name, and you automatically get the free 5k because she'll count herself towards that. So all around, pretty solid grade 1 to have. It's essentially the upgraded form of Fiora, which I find really fun that she came out in set 5, where, we're getting the evolutions of Varga, Raziel, and Levidros. Granted, Levidros came out in set 4, but Varga and Raziel came out in set 1, and so did Fiore, and now she casually got like a legitimate, evolved, upgraded form into this. I wish Bushy would do this more. They don't, but this is a really fun thing that happens. So 4 of Soldato, very good grade 1, checks top 7, adds cards to hand, has good base number, and because there's not a restriction on either of these 2, you can have a total of 8 searches in your deck that still work for the deck's gimmick because they both have Velino in their card names and do almost the exact same skill verbatim. So 4 of Soldato. Moving on to our PG, we have 4 copies of Honeycomb Thyrus, so grade 1 boost, 0, so 6k base. Continue Sentinel, we have 4 Sentinels in the deck, on put on guard circle, choose on mutes, it cannot be hit in the battle. And if your hand is 2 or more cards in it, choose a card from hand, card to standard PG. Nothing to specify. That basically means if this only order card is in your hand, place it on guard circle, you don't have to discard. It's great because that means you can be as aggressive as in one of the early game. Spam the ever-living hell out of these 3, specifically these 2, because neither of them require your opponent to be at a specific grade, or you to be at a specific grade, as long as you have those Lascaria Vanguard. And then when your opponent eventually counterattacks you, after you've thrown down everything in your hand to, aggro them down, throw down the PG, don't discard because you have 1 or less hand cards, throw them a middle finger, and you're good to go. All around, Thyrus is a very solid PG to have. I do like having her in this deck. She does fit the theme of being an insect, and granted, those aren't butterfly wings, but they're some type of bug wings, and if you want to run Planet Prevent Dragon or Custodial Dragon because they have the exact same skill as Thyrus, you can. I just use Make It Thyrus because she came out closer to the time of Lascaria's release, because technically speaking, her real form came out as a promo for the DZ set 1, but it also came out as like an actual card in DZ set 1, so 4 of Thyrus overall. On to our last grade 1 in the deck, 1 of in the red deck, down in the main deck of Days of Training Lascaria, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto and Rotopon by a grade 2 card of Lascaria in the card name, search your deck for 1 grade 2 or greater blitz order without Regalia's piece, reveal, picture, hand, shuffle deck. Cool, so ditch 1, just get it right back, because you ditched 1 for Rydek, and then this searches your deck for an order and adds it to hand, so you didn't lose a hand card. And the card you ditched was Flatari, then you pretty much just plus because this just goes on to board. All around, she's a very solid grade 1 to have, because she does get you your really defensive blitz order, which you do want to be able to defend your way through the following turn, especially because that's kind of what the deck's gimmick is. Not the way I play. Here's a fun fact about how I play this deck. I don't use this half the time. In fact, the most recent match I've had with this deck was the first time I used the blitz order in so long, to the point where when I actually used it, I had to look at the card to make sure it's the card that gives me the ability to use more than 1 blitz order turn, not like an inherent ability Lascaria has. Either way though, 1 of in the right deck of the grade 1 Lascaria is nice to have, and if not just for the blitz order, it's also here so you can trigger these 2 as early as physically possible for your opponent somehow gave you damage. Also, it's here for, superior call. Moving on to our actual blitz order, which I'm pretty sure everyone would say is good because a lot of people really want a defensive deck going into DZ, and we got a defensive deck in set 1, and then I just never used this card. Everfest Shadow Dream Blade. I never ditch it for Riot deck because I'm smart enough to know I will eventually need it, but I will never use this card the way it's intended to. Like, I will only use it once per turn, essentially. So this ability giving you access to more than one blitz order is not useful at all, and as for the other part, well, again, I just kind of keep it just in case. Anyways, play it by Energy Blasting 2. Choosing it being attacked, it gets 20,000 power for that battle, and then you can play one more blitz order. You can play one more blitz order this turn. Whenever you play, just increases that number. So say, for example, you play 1, you get 20, and then you can play one immediately after, and if you play a second Everfest Dream, then you can play a third one immediately after as well, or you can just play it later on in the turn. All around, it's a very good order because inherently giving someone plus 20 is more than enough to block most attacks, and if it doesn't block most attacks, it makes every other attack like a 5k intercept, so not too bad, but also the fact that it can help you keep playing more blitz orders is great because there are some cases, like the game that I did play on camera, where I had to throw down multiple at once and give my Vanguard plus 60 so I could survive. That is helpful to have. So Elrond Everfest Shadow Dream Blade is a good blitz order. It's just unfortunate that I don't use the card at all because, yeah, this is our energy user, and I guarantee you half the time my energy goes to this. So, yeah. So for this, it's a good order. Don't get me wrong. I just don't use it the way it should be. Moving on to our grade 2, 4 copies of Alito Saladol Gurdoli. So, unfortunately, this is a grade 2 that I loved so much when it first was released, and a grade 2 that I no longer use because this card is not drawn easily. Actually, real quickly, because I'm not noticing a trend, it's weird. The double rare ones are called... Nope, never mind. She's a triple rare. I was about to say that I noticed that this thing has almost the exact same name as this one, so maybe there's a chance like there's a theme with their rarity, but nope. If there is a theme between those, someone tell me. Either way, though, Redoli, grade 2 instead 5 Kishio, 10k base, auto, and place on rearguard circle, your Vanguard, the grade 3 grade Lascaria. So boss 2, choose a card with Lena with a different card name from this unit and with a grade less secret to your Vanguard from the drop zone called to rearguard. Again, doesn't require you to be specifically on this one, just requires you to be on either of the 2 Lascarias. I mean, technically, you could be on this one for it if you found a way to superior call this thing while you're in grade 1, but still. And then continues rearguard during your turn. If you have a 3 or more units with on a different card, not in different card names, just in card names in general, it gets boosted 5,000 power. Okay, again, counts itself, counts the Vanguard, so all you need is one more. Hell, you have this thing automatically. You have a 13k, you have a 15k, and this thing has boost. Aron, a very solid Gridoli is a nice grade 2 to have. It gets you a superior call, and it's the only other card in the deck outside of this grade 1 that costs soul, and again, once you're past riding, all your soul pretty much goes to him. The only downside is that I just never draw him anymore in this deck. You see, it doesn't make sense. I put in more searchers, you would think I would see him more. No, somehow that equates to me not drawing him into my hand normally anymore, and he just never shows up in my searches, meaning half the time I just have to get lucky with him. So, for up this grade 2, it's really good. It just sucks that I never see him anymore, because he was genuinely my favorite card to play whenever I played this deck, but it is what it is. Now we move on to 4 copies of Alina from Milial, who I just am 95% sure exists in this deck, and I never use her skill because she's essentially vanilla for me. Grade turn set 5 Kishio, 10k base, auto when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, and then during the battle phase, you have a grade 3 grade Vanguard Lascaria in the card name. Ditch your hand card, use a card with a different card name from this unit from your drop zone, call it to rearguard circle if it's a grade 3 grade 3 LS unit with Alina in the card name, or put to your hand if it's a blitz order. Arm pretty solid, essentially swaps a hand card for either a rearguard, call this, get stuff back, or get you a blitz order back to hand so you can use it next turn. All around, Malil is a nice grade 2 to have. The only reason I don't use her skill is because A, I either have Gridoli and it gets me on board, or because she specifically has to call the card to rearguard. Most of the time when I play her, I already have a full board, and unlike everything else in this deck, she specifically does require the grade 3 or grade Lascaria, so by then I've already created my board, or if I haven't, there's only one open slot, and that's the slot she's going to, and the blitz order most of the time isn't in my drop zone, because again, I don't use it. In the turns I do use it, she's probably heading to the drop zone with it so I could stay alive. So, for Meliel, she's a nice grade 2 to have. She's a Valino, she gets you rearguards back, and she gets you your order back. The only downside is because of how my playstyle is, she literally does not go off 95% of the time, and the time that she does, it's probably not going to make a difference, but for her, one day she'll be useful for me at least. Then we have Lascaria 2 in the deck, one of in the red deck, none in the main deck of Oath upon Mother's Sword, Lascaria, great turns at 5k shield, 10k base. Every time I look at this, I think of what was her name? Star versus the Forces of Evil, her mother, the Queen Moon. I don't know why I always think about that when I see this. Anyways, auto wrote upon by a grade 3 card with a scar in the card name. Deck top 5 to 1 normal unit with Valino in his card name, or to 1 blitz or from unreal picture hand shuffle deck. Okay, so obviously the grade 1's too busted being a free search, but she only ever gave one grade 2 ride deck card a free entire deck search, and that was the one specifically from Vergalia, which required you to ride a specific unit on top of it. So this being able to check top 5 is still good. I mean, it it hits majority of your deck because it hits, you know, let me see, 3, 7, 11, plus another, wait, sorry, 3, 7, 11, 15, 19, 23, 27 plus 3 more. This hits 30 of your 45 because you already drew 5 going into this game. So by the time you hit this, let's just assume you went through 4 cards, so 41. This hits through 30 of your 41 remaining deck cards in one go, assuming that your opponent never dealt you damage and that you only did drive checks and draws. So Othapon Mother Sword, very solid, good grade 2. It hits, again, majority of your deck, and it gets a random card to hand. So 1 of in the ride deck, none in the main deck because it has no rear card skill. Also doesn't have Velino on the card name. Then we have 4 copies of Velino Capra Jimmy Artifice. For some reason, I completely forgot to do this, so I'm just going to do this now. Grade 3 turns out personality, 13k base. Auto warrior guard once per turn. At the end about this unit, attacked into a grade 3. At the end about your vanguard, that's grade 3 or greater with a scar on the card name attack. If your opponent's vanguard's a grade 3 or greater, CB1, stay on this unit. If you have 3 more Velinos, again counting himself, get 5,000 power. All around pretty solid. Downside is this does require both players to be at grade 3. Thankfully, Lascaria doesn't have to attack the vanguard for that ability. I mean, she most likely will, but thankfully she doesn't have to. So if you want to swing her to an opponent's rear guard that maybe has a 25k interceptor, a helmet, then there you go, you could do that. But again, being able to stand this thing only for a simple CB is great and get 5k. The only downside is this does conflict heavily with, you know, your 2 searches over here, so you got to be really careful with your CB when you're using your searchers, plus your restanders, especially because your main way of killing people is just calling 2 of these to front row and going for a game with 4 attack or 5 attacks in a turn, with 2 of them, you know, coming from this restand and then the last one coming from a crit up to vanguard. But is what it is. All around a very solid grade 3.5. Thankfully, at least Velino over here can. Velino was not a good description. Lascaria over here can counter charge. So for Verifice, solid grade 3.5, gets restance, easily gets 5k, because again, counts itself, counts the vanguard, all you need is 1 more unit, automatically it's the 18k restance, so good to have for really nice on Persona Ride turns. And then we have our last card in the deck, 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck, of Sword Princess of the Dream Blade, Lascaria Velino. Grade 3, Twin Drive, Persona Ride, 13k base, continues Vanguard. During your turn, if you have 3 or more units with Velino on their card names, all of your units with Velino on their card names get 5,000 power, and if you have 5 or more, this in your opponent's Vanguard is also a grade 3 or greater, this thing gets a crit. Okay, important things to note here. This is the easiest way to give your field a 5k, because this unit counts towards that skill, and then all you need is 2 more Velinos, and thankfully you don't have to have different card names, and again, if you play this deck like me, more likely than not, by the time you get to grade 2, every single circle, except for specifically the top right, I don't know why I never called to the top right, but the top right, everything but that circle will be filled, so by the time you get to her, automatically, unless your opponent board nuked you, you have exactly 5 Velinos. She's going to get the crit if your opponent's at grade 3, and even if they're not going to get the crit, your entire board is getting 5k, so this is an 18k, plus let's just assume most of the time, you know, you're going to have Fiore behind the Vanguard circle, which is going to be the weaker of the 2 boosters between these 2, so she'll be a 15k booster, so your middle column's a 28k swing, your middle column's a 33k swing, automatically forcing 25k guard. Let's see, this is a 15, plus, you know, Velino's skill, so 20, plus maybe this as a booster, so a total of 18, so that's a 38k column on the side, and you're having at least one of these on your board, so, you know, 18, not counting his restand skill, plus let's just assume another copy of this, because that consistently hits, so 18 plus 18, 36, when it restands, is going to be a 41. Yeah. Nice for pressure, especially when she's got double crit backing that up. And then Auto Vanguard, I have at the end about that your unit was attacked and the attack did not hit. If you played a blitz order for that battle, draw a card, and if you did not countercharge this turn, countercharge 1. Nice that, granted, it specifically doesn't allow you to draw per blitz order. So if you play 3 blitz orders, you only get to draw 1. You don't get to draw 1 for each blitz order. But if you played it multiple times during the turn, like if you played 1 during one battle and then another during another battle, as long as the attack didn't go through, you do get a free draw, which is nice to have, and at least you get to countercharge once a turn, which is good for, you know, again, CB spamming with all the cards you had that in 4 CB. And again, thankfully, Everfest Dream Blade over here, the turns that I do use it, well, at least it's going to come in handy when I stockpile them and use it with Velino's skill over here to increase the hand a little bit more. On a very solid grade 3, and there's one more thing I want to bring up about that skill. Most cards that have that effect involve you not having to guard from hand, mainly thinking about Sienna over there. Thankfully, in this deck, you're still able to guard with units, and you'll still be able to puff that effect as long as the attack did not go through, and as long as you did play the Blitz order. All around, making her a very solid grade 3. She can replace the Blitz order used with just a free draw from her skill, get you CB back, and just gives your entire board the freest and easiest 5k buff in the entire world, and possibly gives herself an extra crit as well. And while she will be the weaker number, she still has that inherent crit pressure on her with columns that are consistently swinging in the 30s and 40s without Persona Rides and triggers, and possibly and at least consistently has access to double restanders. So yeah, 3 of them in the main deck, 1 of them in the ride deck. Now, if only I saw her Persona Rides just as easily as I used to. And that's it for this one. Hope all of you enjoyed. All around, this deck is very fun to play, even though it's meant to be more defensive. Yeah, I've thrown that idea out the window and only use this when I have to. And instead focus on call, let some of them die, call, maybe call, or just use guard power, and then double call, and then beat the opponent down with double crit, double restand. All around, this deck is very fun to use. It gets to be aggressive. It does have that defensive side to it as well. And there are a few more Valinos that do have a more consistency and defensive base to them. So if you want to go ahead and tech those on over the more offensive cards, you could definitely afford to do that as well. All around, that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join us on Twitch, and I'll see you all in the next one. Dark Synep, your vanguards.